This is the Generous Degenerates, presented by Rally Towel Sports.
New intro alert, Rally Towel Sports family.
Yes, sir.
I'm Aaron. That's Corey. We are the Generous Degenerates coming to you live here on a Wednesday. We are
chilling on a Wednesday.
Sports Report as well. Corey, happy Wednesday. How you doing, buddy?
Dude, I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic. It's International Women's Day.
It sure is.
So a quick shout out to all of our better halves.
Yeah.
Mrs. Mary Mailing, Mrs. Katie James, Mrs. Mary Gottschall, and Miss Caroline, Bobby's better half, his significant other. We appreciate all of you for supporting us while we do this, drink beer and talk about sports. So shout out to
Degenerate shit.
Yeah, degenerate shit. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Well, happy International Women's Day to all that celebrate. Which should be everybody.
Yeah. Come on,
Corey. What's going on this week? We have some sports gambling to digest from our last podcast on Wednesday. Obviously, we have some golf to preview, some NBA, some college basketball to preview as well.
Yep.
Where do you want to start this thing out at?
I kind of want to let's peel the onion back and get into a little bit of last week. Might be a little painful in some points, talking about last week and just kind of from your perspective, how did the week in betting go for you and us? I mean, I was tailing pretty much everything that you're putting out there, and I mean, what was your take on how that went?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an entirely different dynamic now, actually tweeting out your plays as opposed to kind of hoarding them to the best. It's very easy to just broadcast your wins and say, look at this crazy bet I made and it hit. Yeah. Send the screenshot to the boys. Everyone's
Which is
happy.
What most social media accounts that do bet do. But go on.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. We got to put those plays out before so we can see how they go. Also want to see, what everyone else is on as well. It was pretty hit or miss. So let's start where we started last week with the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Yeah. I thought as the round progressed, our plays, they did. I thought overall we did okay. You know what I mean? I don't think we knocked it out of the park by any means, but I think we had a decent finger on the pulse of what we thought was going to happen. And what we want to do is take that and build on that for this week potentially as well. So just to kind of recap here a little bit, we had you had plays on Rahm, I had plays on Kirk, right? That's after.
So I didn't have Rahm. I did not.
Oh, you didn't?
Rahm.
Okay. Well, we had talked about Rahm as being
we had talked about him.
He's the number one golfer in the world.
Yeah.
So I had Kirk top 10 at plus 450 last week. Hey, after day one, he's leading he's right up there at the top of the pack. I'm feeling really, really good about that. Obviously, as the tournament progresses from there, my boy had a little bit of a struggle here, finishing outside of the top 40. Hovland, of course, as I told you about, I had him top 10 and technically finished there. But of course, that's not really the way it works when the top 10 has 14 people inside of it. But we did hit on the top continental European pick I had, which was basically just saying, hey, I like Hovland in this round. Let me try to bet on him, basically beating Rahm, which he did do. For you, I know you had Scheffler in the top 10, Homa in the top 10. And then what were the other plays there?
We had Billy Horschel in the top 10. And then I had another one on that as well. I'm trying to recall off the top of my head. It wasn't Fitzy or wasn't JT, but we had Horschel, Scheffler, Homa, and then
Hatter? What's his name?
Terrell Hatton.
Hatton, yeah.
Yep, Terrell Hatton. So I went 50% on the top 10 bets. So as it like I tweeted out, we went like pretty much like half a unit down is pretty much what it was. So like we paid the admission to watch the player, or excuse me, not the players, that's this week, but to, watched that tournament and the Arnold Palmer Invitation, and that's pretty much what I chalked it up to. We got a lot of good data out of that,
Right?
And a lot that we're going to try and roll into this week, into the players. But
yeah, and Hovland doesn't 3-putt 18 on the fourth day. We're walking away with money in our pocket.
Yeah, so, exactly.
You know, it's like, you know, like you said, we got our price of admission. I certainly was, you know, eyes to the television. Right, that, you know, what's funny is me and the wife went to the driving range, and as we were pulling away, you know, I had my phone up on the, you know, on the table there as we're at the range, and it was just too nice of a day to not get outside, right? You know, there's nothing wrong with going outside and touching grass, even while you're gambling. But what I did do is I made us wait in the parking lot on 18 as I was watching on my phone before I threw it. So
driving home with road rage the entire motherfucker.
Pretty much. I was like cool about it because I was like, I knew I had the European bet, but like either way, it was still like I was still pretty beat up and miserable about it. You know, and then, you know, keeping on the what's going on, Bobby, keeping on the recap train as well. You know, we had a rough start to the NBA slate. We wanted to come out swinging with 3 bets. We went 0 for 3.
Bobby, thanks for liking the stream.
Some things about it, again, I don't hate. I was actually very hot going into last Wednesday in the NBA. I was 8-2 lead going into that, but of course, that's just me saying that and not putting it out online for everyone else to read. So that doesn't really mean much to anyone, but you know, just the ebbs and flows of gambling. So when it comes down to it, you know, we're riding a little bit of a cold streak, and I know that was one of the topics we wanted to talk about here tonight, Corey. Is what's the strategy when you are feeling that cold streak, or you know, weight on your shoulders of, you know, fuck, I need to go here. I need to get a bet.
I'm just going to chime in right here, Aaron, because we are Wisconsin +2 tonight. We got Wisconsin down 4 with 50 seconds left. I'm just putting that out there. Wisconsin is down 4. They were down like 20 at fucking halftime.
I may have called for the money line, but yep, I got you.
Anyway, so yeah, when you're in a cold streak, I think there's a couple of things that you can do. One, stop betting. Just kind of take a step back and just step away for a little bit, sit a few games out. What I don't want you to do, or anyone to do that's listening to this, is like, I need to make back everything that I lost in 1 bet or 2 bets, or whatever. Anything drastic such as that. That's just not a good strategy. You're going to make rash decisions, and you're probably going to end up losing that money that you're betting there. Trying to string together, you know, 6-leg parlays to get your money back. Things like that. That just you're going to end up digging yourself in a little deeper. So first thing to do, just stop gambling for a little bit. Just stop betting. You know, sit a couple of days out, watch some sports just to watch some sports, or just don't watch some sports for a little while. Just, you know, I just watched the first 2 Creed movies Sunday and Monday night. Have you seen those, by the way?
Did you have Creed on the money line? I'm just kidding. I have not, dude, actually.
They're phenomenal.
I've heard
they're so good.
A lot of times those movies that you either remake or kind of re-identify for today's time, if you will, you know, take Rocky, you know, they've done it with Ghostbusters. We've seen, you know, or it just anyway, you get what I'm saying. Like
Top
they
Gun.
Always try to Top Gun. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Some hit, some don't. Most oftentimes, yeah, Top Gun was pretty good. Most oftentimes though, does not hit very well. I've heard nothing but good things about the new Creed movies.
Yeah, I mean, so I had never seen them. They're both out on HBO. Watched the first one. I was like, oh, this is amazing. This is great. Second one, you get Drago from Rocky 4 in the second one, and it's phenomenal. So I'm excited.
The best Rocky.
I would agree. If it does, it does.
It dies.
I'm excited to watch the third one. So again, back to the point. Step away for a little bit. Just stop betting. It's as easy as that. Or if you feel that your strategy is rooted in logic, if you feel that the strategy that you have implied on your previous bets is one that is going to eventually result in success, then stick with it. Stay the course and don't deter. Now, if you're experimenting with a new strategy, stop and go back and try the opposite strategy. For instance, I started just without doing research. I was like, all right, I'm going to fade. And I didn't tweet any of this out, but I was just doing it for data collection. I'm going to just fade every team on a back-to-back for one night.
Right.
And the data resulted in an 1-1 night. So I didn't win any bets. I lost one bet and I pushed on another one. And it just, that was, if I went 1-1 or 1-0-1, something within that in the win column, that's going to tell me to, I can continue this strategy, but I, need to put more research into that. So there's just multiple things that you can do when you've recognized, hey, I'm in a cold streak. Just kind of understand where you're at. Okay, am I just kind of firing bets off? If so, step away. Am I, doing a tried and true strategy? Stick with it. If I'm experimenting, maybe just switch up the strategy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And there's two things that I did last week. So I'd lost 4 in a row, and I didn't think my strategy was rooted terribly. And I'll give you a good example. Was I took, the over for Evan Mobley points against the Pistons, partially because 17.5 for him is a good number. Obviously, it's a good number. That's why Vegas put it there. But I knew that Donovan Mitchell, was dealing with a groin injury. It was the Pistons in between two big games where, you have the Celtics coming up. You're not, if there is a game where you're going to at least monitor his minutes a little bit, it's going to be in this Pistons game. And Evan Mobley finished the game with 16 points, not because of lack of opportunity, but because they scored too many points and they rested the starters with, 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Probably hits that bet. So again, that's not one I'm feeling terrible about from a strategy perspective, even though I lost that bet. But to turn around on that, I was feeling a little more comfortable in the player prop pool than I was with the spread and over under. Yeah. So my next bet, I was fine. We started a 4-game win streak with Rudy Gobert by taking his over in rebounds because when it was a -120 bet, right? So I'm not getting favorable juice, but also I kind of just need a win. You know what I mean? I felt very, very confident with this bet, even though I wasn't getting the best juice. And that win kind of helped give me that confidence to springboard into hopefully getting a streak going there. So I'm okay on a strategy perspective, taking a lower juiced bet just because if you need to feel that, that win in your pocket.
You got to see it. You got to see it hit the cup or bottom of the cup or watch it go in and stuff like that. The same, thing they say about basketball players. Just once you make one, then the lid's off and you can start watching them fall a little bit more.
And definitely. Then we were getting funky with it. And we're like, all right, Devin Booker over assists. We'll take this over here. Cover this spread. And we had hit from a bunch of different angles.
Yeah.
So it's fine to do that if you want to get your confidence up. But again, like you just said, the most responsible thing you can do is, if you're confident in what you're doing or you're still believing in the strategy that you are there's no problem keeping going. The other thing too is it doesn't cost you to track your bet. If, like you said, if you want to test out some let's fade a couple, back-to-backs here, or, I'm trying out this new strategy or new trend, write it down. Obviously you want to win. And if you write it down and you don't cash it,
like, damn it,
it doesn't feel as right. Damn it. But don't think of it that way. Think of it as a long-term, way to look at it. You can always track your bet without actually playing it.
Absolutely. And so all things considered, I think after this week, that considering like the bets that I currently have out and pending right now, I'm, probably down like 3 units after the week. So, I mean, if we, equate a unit to 2 to 3% of your bankroll, that's something that, this time next week we could be up 4, just depends on, if we're hitting them. So.
Yeah. And we had a couple situations where, the lines change very quickly. And even as quick as information flows between you and I, just texting back and forth, life, happens, life gets in the way as well. I know you're not catching my texts or tweets the second I put them out there. So as an example, I know we had a couple that, unfortunately I hit and you didn't because it was, that's how important one number can be.
Absolutely.
On a line. So, when we were looking at, obviously the Celtics going to double overtime last week against the Knicks. Shout out the Knicks, by the way.
Yeah.
What a fun team to watch.
Which it's kind of just something I would never thought I would ever say. But like I'm enjoying watching the Knicks play basketball.
It's a lot of guys. You know what I mean? Like there's nobody on that team that just jumps out to you as like a KD or, a Steph Curry or a LeBron, where it's just, they can take over the game in their own way. Obviously, Julius Randle is an all-star. Jalen Brunson was right on the cusp this year. They're just a fun team to watch. But yeah, there's certain things where I'm like, okay, listen, I knew the Cavs sat their starters in the fourth quarter. Celtics just went to double overtime and are playing tomorrow. I'm going to jump on this 3.5 right now. It ended up that they won by 4 because of overtime. We had a couple, overtimes with the Celtics helping us out.
Yeah.
This weekend. The point is, if you can catch the wave before the line moves, I'm always okay with that. I wasn't necessarily even comfortable with the Cavs at -3.5, but I knew that line was going to move to 7, or somewhere around there. I think it ended at 6. But either way, just if you trust something in your conviction, there's no problem playing it. But I kind of digress. That's kind of where we were at from last week. But that's the greatest thing about betting, Corey. That shit's behind us. That's quit living in the past. We're moving forward here.
Come on.
Got a couple of events coming up here. Obviously, we are right in the heart of tournament time.
Baby.
We are officially in March. It is vasectomy season for the boys. And I'm curious, what you're seeing out there right now from a college basketball perspective. I know we kind of outlined a little bit of the Big 12, not necessarily games that you want to call out. We will call those out on the Twitter, on the socials as well. What kind of things are you looking at leading into this week? And are there any plays, that do stand out to you?
So it's hard for me to specifically say right now what plays that I'm going to be making or things like that. I would recommend anyone interested in doing that, obviously follow us on Twitter, hit the little notifications. That's your best way to either follow or fade all our bets. Last week, if you fade them, came out a little bit on top, but
I'm fine with that. Just follow.
Yeah, just follow. That's fine. But I think basically what my strategy is going to be doing is following the trends of what we've been seeing as of late. For instance, earlier this morning, we took 2 college basketball plays. George Mason going against Richmond in the A10 conference tournament. George Mason had covered, I think it was 4 out of their last 5 games. Meanwhile, Richmond had only covered 2 out of the last 5. I was getting George Mason. I think they're a 3 seed or a 5 seed against a 12 seed in that tournament. George Mason -2.5 points. We're following that trend. It looks good. They're the better team, only 2.5 points. That's a 1 possession game win. You have to remember that these conference tournaments are going to be pretty tight, especially as we continue to progress. These teams have seen each other at least twice. No, not at least, but they've seen each other twice already. So there's a little bit less for them to, hide or wrinkles in the game plan, if you will. It's just about players when it comes down to it, especially in college basketball. So yeah, that was a pick that we took, and then we hit on it. I think they won by 5, if I'm not mistaken. And then we had a bad push today. It wasn't a beat. It wasn't a bad beat, but it felt like a bad beat. Right. We had Georgia Tech +8. Georgia Tech was tied, I think, with like 7 minutes to go. We might even took the lead. And then they're down 6 with like 5 or 6 seconds left, and just a stupid, pointless foul. You're not going to win this game. And they foul Pitt. Pitt gets to the line, knocks them both down. A bullshit 3 attempt from Georgia Tech, and we end up pushing it right at 8. So they lost by 8. So we went even on that one. But the same philosophy applied there. We were looking at a team in Georgia Tech that had covered, 4 of their last 5 games. Or excuse me, George Mason had covered 5 straight, I think, on those. But Georgia Tech had, covered 4 out of their last 5. Pitt, 2 out of their last 5 games that they had covered. If you've been watching Pitt lately, they just haven't been playing real complete basketball games. And so that was just kind of some of the things that I've been looking for. I've been, doing my, my due diligence in just watching college basketball. So as somebody that, is going to be betting conference tournaments this weekend, I suggest you to at least just have the ticker up on a browser or something like that, or check it on your lunch break and start looking at it. And the easy way to just really, you're like, there's so many college basketball games. How do I narrow it down? Start with the top 25. just start with the top 25. You're going to get the most coverage. You're going to get the most news. You're going to get the most insight on those. Don't just start going out and betting on Patriot League conference tournaments and stuff like that. Just go with the teams that you're going to get the most exposure to, that there's probably the most data, the most, op-eds or articles about and things like that. And you're going to be a little bit safer doing that. So just start there and you'll just be able to pick up on knowledge, because to be honest, college basketball, when it comes to seeding, the first 6 weeks are important. They play a factor. You're going to be playing a lot of Q1 games. You get those big matchups before you get into conference play. But really what it comes down to is, how is the team playing right now? What's going on with the team right now? For instance, UCLA, they just lost 13 points a game with an Achilles injury. My UCLA future is crying right now. So it's all about momentum. How are they playing? What's the matchup? What are the trends? And again, follow us on Twitter. We'll be putting them all out there. Whatever we're feeling makes sense. We'll put the why behind it, and you can make your decision based off that too.
Yeah, and that's something I'm proud of us that we've been doing on Twitter as well. We're not just giving you the pick, which is easy to do, but explaining why we are on this side or that side. Bobby asked the good question, and Corey, I think you did a great job of outlining it there of what is your strategy moving into tournament time. And for me, as somebody who probably hasn't watched as much college basketball as you this year, my strategy is pretty simple. This is this is homework time. I'm not worried about making money during the conference tournaments. What I want to do is watch these teams now to have my informed decisions, for when the actual tournament starts. So I at least have a little bit of, take a look at the trends now, take a look at who's done what in the last 10 games, last 15 games, what does their over-unders look like? What does their win-loss look like for the money line and the spread? Obviously, home and away isn't going to be as important in the tournament, but you can kind of take a look at those things of how close are they to home as opposed to what. Because when I'm looking at a 5-12 matchup as opposed to just deciding I want to bet on a Patriot League game, I'm going to be a little bit more well-informed, because I actually have a little, this is the time to get the eyes on the team, because like you were saying, Corey, if you want to start with the top 25, these are all visible, but I'm going to be able to see some teams that are going to be in the tournament who haven't gotten the national attention, that they have all year. Maybe take a look at that Patriot League championship game, because whoever that wins is going to be in the game. See how they played. Is that a team that you think can contend? Do they have 4 seniors on the team that are all averaging double digits that look like they play cohesive basketball? Not that they're going to win the game, but can they cover a 16-point spread? Those are the type of things that I want to do now. And that's my strategy, is put the homework in now so I can make money during the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's kind of college basketball. Obviously, like we said, as things are, progressing, we're in the very early parts of the major conference tournaments right now. By next Sunday, we're going to be having Selection Sunday. So, keep that in mind. We'll have a lot more college basketball next week as we are going into that weekend. But that is certainly on the horizon as something that we're going to continuously talk about here in the fun month of March. Other cool thing going on is we had. Oh, go ahead, Corey.
I was just going to say, the best part about next week's show is that we're going to literally be able to select, for the most part, our picks in the opening round of college basketball. Obviously, Tuesday and Wednesday, you get the play-in games rather. But going into Thursday, we've got a full slate of 32 matchups, or excuse me, we've got not 32, 16 matchups on Thursday, 16 on Friday. So we should be able to break all of those down, and then going into next week, we'll be looking at the Sweet 16. So it should be a really good time.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, this is just like we were saying last podcast. This is just such a fun time of year to really digest a bunch of different sports that, now that we're out of the cloud of football, it's all of these other sports can kind of get some sunlight and grow a little bit. So that's a really, really fun time of year. So we had obviously gone over the Arnold Palmer last year. Of course, we have the Players Championship coming up this week for golf. Again, all in all, I thought we did okay on our golf picks.
Totally.
I'm interested to see, are you going back to the well with some of these guys? Are you switching up strategy completely? What are you looking at going into this week for the Players Championship at Sawgrass?
Yeah, so my strategy going into the Arnold Palmer Invitational was I'm not going to make any bets to win. I'm sticking to that for the most part. I'm not making any most of my bets. In fact, I would say about probably only 20% of the bets that I'm placing are on to win. Everything else is going to be top 10. But a couple of fun facts just about the players for you going into this. If you're thinking about betting on the players, 5 of the last 6 winners of the players have also won a major. Okay, so note that down. Patrick Cantlay has missed the cut 2 straight years at TPC Sawgrass, while on the other side, Justin Thomas has never missed the cut at TPC. 7 of 7 at TPC Sawgrass. Obviously, I believe it's the 2021 or 2022 that Justin Thomas, I think it was 21, Justin Thomas actually won the players.
21 it was canceled, I think, right?
No, 20.
It was 20.
It was 20. Yeah. 21, he won the players. 22, Cam Smith won the players. He won't be there. Right. It's actually one of the first times the defending champ is not going to be there at the players, but obvious reasons for that. So yeah, just some fun facts. So sticking to the strategy there, the strategy last time, who's played well and at this course, who's playing well now. This one, I'm kind of tweaking that a little bit, in that this course is not really set up for some of the long ball guys, like Scotty Scheffler, for instance, is somebody that I felt really good about last week on the API. Looking at the players, this isn't about how far you can hit the ball. It's how close you can put your ball to the hole on your approach shot. Greens and regulation are going to be a massive part about who can win this tournament. So what am I looking for, Aaron? I'm looking for iron play going into this. So there's a few guys here that I'm going, again, these are top 10 bets that I'm going for at the players. First of which, Justin Thomas. He's done it before. 7 straight cuts. In terms of a top 10, I'm getting Justin Thomas at plus 225. I really like those. He's been playing great golf. He's always in the mix. Feels like a good bet there. Another guy, I'm going back to the well on him. I do it almost every big tournament because I just really like the way he plays. And in terms of iron play, this guy's probably one of the best on tour. Max Homa. I'm going back.
I love it. Keep going.
Max, 220 plus 225 on MaxiPad. Another guy.
I love Homa in this one.
Yeah. Another guy that honestly might have let me back up before Max. Let me go back to JT. I just want to make a point on JT. Not only is it going to be important about your iron play on your approach to the green, but if you make an error, if you're in that greenside bunker, it used to be the best player on tour at a greenside bunker was Phil Mickelson. It wasn't even close.
Sure.
He was just absolutely filthy from a greenside bunker. I think that new player is Justin Thomas, and his ability to get up and down out of a greenside bunker is probably one of the best on tour right now, and that's why I also feel good about a top 10 bet on him.
I was just going to ask you a quick question because you're obviously talking about JT. I know we were talking about.
I love JT. Is probably one of my favorite golfers.
Yeah, he's very, very, very likable. On the other side of it, we all know his buddy Spieth. So Spieth had one of the better Sunday rounds I have seen in a long time, especially on that front 9, where it just seemed like every hole, he was coming out with a birdie, and even when he had a bogey, he'd come back and birdie the next hole. Yeah. How much stock do you put into a guy that played, because this is one thing when, it's not every week where you have pretty much the entire field playing a big tournament and then coming back the next week, and playing again. Do you put any stock in that coming out? Is it kind of a wash to you? Does that play into your bets at all?
It does. It absolutely does. I think he's playing some of the best golf on tour right now, and so much so that I got a half a unit bet on him to win the whole fucking thing. It's a crazy bet because Jordan Spieth is terrible here. He's really bad at TPC, which scares me a lot as I make this bet, but I did put half a unit on Spieth to win this entire tournament, just based on how he's playing right now. And how he's playing right now is like we saw 4 years ago, Jordan Spieth, and I'm getting that at plus 4,000. So half a unit at plus 4,000 for him to win the whole thing. If we're sitting here, Monday morning, Sunday evening, saying Jordan Spieth won the Players, is anyone really surprised? I don't think so. No. Just based on the way he's been playing over the last couple of weeks. So absolutely, it takes effect. I think golf is such a game of momentum, especially week to week. If you're feeling good, which Spieth has come out and said publicly in his recent interviews, because he said, he's like, it's no secret that I suck here. Like, it's no secret. I missed the cut last year. Everybody knows. You don't have to do a whole lot of research to find out how bad I've been at this course, but I feel really good. I feel like I have command of my driver more than I ever have. And I just feel like what I'm able to do with the golf ball right now is I'm just in a really good space. So much of golf is between the ears. There's so much that goes, there's mechanics, there's fundamentals. All these guys have that. If you're top 70, right, if you're top 100 on tour, you've got the mechanics. It's all there. Even if they're a little weird, you know how to make them work. So even as casual golfers, you, myself, even Bobby, coming in the chat, I appreciate you holding it down there, Bob. Coming, most of it just really comes down to between the ears and how can you quiet your mind before each shot and focus on what you need to be doing. So absolutely, it takes effect. Where are you landing on Spieth this weekend?
Yeah, it's funny because I think obviously him going on a good run to close, Arnold Palmer, I think is obviously priced in to this week. And like you said, this is not necessarily a course that he plays well. So that's just, I was curious how you're now taking him as an outright winner. I actually like that better than trying to pencil him in as like a top 10. You know what I mean? I'd rather take that and then hedge against it later in the round if I need to a little bit. But yeah, it's one of those things that golf is so different course to course, week to week, that I'm not saying that I'm looking at it going, oh, well, obviously I'm just going to go against that. But like you were saying, and I was looking at some of the same stats, it's just not necessarily a course that, that he's going to, not succeed at, but, thrive at, let's say. Bob locking down the chat here. He's got Tom Hoge in the past 2 rounds, sub 69 opening rounds. That's his underdog this year. Taking a look at the odds, plus 387 top 20, plus 800 top 10.
What are we looking at on a 3-ball on that one? That's what I'm going to pull up right now. While you keep going here.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that I'm really interested in for this week. One of the plays that I have here is as a top 10 finish. I have Jason Day. I think Jason Day has finally shown himself to be healthy again. And in his 5 starts that he's had this year, his worst finish is 18th. He won this tournament back in 2016. He's had 3 top 10 finishes at this course. And I think he's playing some of the best golf that we've seen him play, really in the last, 5 years or so. Sure. I think this course plays really well to his strengths. Like you were saying, I'm looking at iron guys, but I'm also looking at guys that have played pretty well of late, and he's constantly been in the mix. And I just think you're getting good value at him as a top 10 finish at plus 250. I bet that on MGM. And part of the reason I did it on MGM as opposed to DraftKings like I did last week was MGM gives you less implied odds, but they pay you out for every tie. So for instance, that Hovland bet I made where it was tied 10, where he's got, 14 in the field, that's a win for me regardless on MGM. So taking it a little bit of a different approach this week by taking the tie out of it. Of course, I'm giving myself a little bit less implied odds to do so, though. I think this is a round that you're going to see a pretty congested, top 10, just kind of like last week. And we had said it was a little lower than I thought it was going to be. I think I predicted the winner at -7, coming in at -9, but I was saying this isn't going to be a tournament, where you see a -19, hold the cup up on Sunday. Go ahead.
Where are you thinking? Is that what you're saying? People are going to land around here at TPC. You're thinking 12, 15?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to look at last year's to tell you what's going to happen because of the weather. I mean, they took 5 days to play it last year, and what did Cam Smith have? A minus 13?
Yeah, 13 under. So
I'd probably go closer to 15, 16.
I was thinking 16, 17 is probably where we're going to find the winner. But again, it all comes down to what kind of weather are we going to be dealing with for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A couple other bets that I like here. I like Fitzpatrick in the top 10 as well. He's just a guy who's so technical and likes to stay around the leaderboard that I trust him enough to make the cut.
Same with Day.
Same with Day. I trust him enough to make the cut and be in the mix Saturday and Sunday. Give me a round where Fitzpatrick puts cards a -7 and gets himself in the mix going into Sunday. I can see that happening. And I'm getting it at plus 360. It's an odds thing to me where I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you're going to tell me that's going to happen once every 3.5 times, I like it better than that.
Yeah.
So I'll take Fitzpatrick here in the top 10 as well. You had mentioned before, Sawgrass is not a course that rewards the long bombs, right? One of my favorite bets that I have this week is Justin Sue in the top 20 at plus 450. He's a guy that is middle of the pack at best in terms of driving distance. But what he is he's 18th on the tour inside of 10 feet, and he's 22nd on the tour in 3-putt avoidance. I think he's a guy that's going to keep himself in the mix, as well as playing well of late. He's had 4 consecutive top 40 finishes. So again, getting him inside the top 20 there is a little bit of an ask, but at plus 450 on a course that rewards maybe a little, where the shorter players are going to actually compete, as opposed to the guys who are consistently driving at 300 plus.
Sure.
I like Sue in this round. And then just because we had the really fun Hovland bet last week, I'm gonna do another one that I have a little bit of action on. I'm riding with you on Homa inside the top 10. But another bet I have here on Homa, just to make it a little bit interesting for him, is at plus 1,400 for him to win outright if you remove McIlroy, Rahm, and Scheffler.
Oh, okay. It's interesting because, we're talking about, those are McIlroy, Rahm, and Scheffler. Those are all guys that can absolutely crush the golf ball.
Yeah. Let's imagine they don't exist.
Yeah. Yeah, those are interesting. So I actually got one more that we didn't go over that I got in the top 10 for this one. And it's kind of been based around the same strategy on the other ones. It's, who's been playing well and who is really good with their irons. One I considered, but I didn't pull the trigger just because he hasn't been playing well, is Colin Morikawa. Might be one of the best. And when he's on, his irons are insane.
Putting, yeah.
I'm going with Ricky. He's won the Players before. Yeah, I'm going with Ricky Fowler. He's won it before. And in terms of, honestly, iron and wedge play, Ricky is one of the best. He's feeling good right now. He's confident. He likes where he's at. And I even tweeted this out. Could you just imagine? Let's not talk about the Players. Let's flash forward a month. We're in Augusta. It's Sunday at 2:00. Ricky Fowler is on 12 and a stroke off or 2 strokes on the lead. Can you just imagine the gallery on that day? I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. Ricky Fowler is a beloved golfer. Most people love Ricky Fowler. Never won a major.
I certainly have a lot more respect for him as a guy who is not playing as well as frankly he used to, or frankly,
the hype was.
Punching his weight class even. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't consistently do that. But I have a lot of respect for him for not jumping to live, because that's a guy that brings so much name and brand recognition without necessarily the accolades of late, that you think that's an obvious poach where you throw the bag at him. You get the endorsements that, well, not the endorsement, but you know what I mean? The name recognition of Ricky Fowler and bring that over to live. And you can tell that, that's probably a decision that he had to reckon with. And I just have a lot of respect for him for sticking that out. I like that play.
Get it at 550 plus 550.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, what are the odds on that? I'm good with that. I'm good with that. In top 10, you said?
Yep, top 10 finish for Ricky Fowler. Yeah.
The only other one, and I'm not playing it just because I have just such a terrible taste in my mouth, but it is Hovland. Hovland is one of the best iron players on the tour. He is there's that clutch gene I just don't see in him. I called it out when we were talking about it last week. What happened to him at the Arnold Palmer in 2022 is he blew apart on Sunday. He did it again.
Yeah.
He was sitting there at the top of the leaderboard going in and
it was his to lose, really.
It was his to lose. Yeah, but I don't give a shit whether you win or not, dude. I just need you to finish top 10. How do you not do that? You know what I'm saying? I get it.
Absolutely.
I get it. But, as a gambler here, buddy, we don't need glory. We need podium status.
Yeah, let's go. Just get near it.
Let's
just get near it. Absolutely.
Well, obviously, Corey throwing up the handles here. So make sure you're following us here on Twitter at Rally_Tal_S and on TikTok at RallyTalSports. We'll have our bets there. Again, this is it's hard to make picks on Wednesday to stand by on Sunday. Everything changes, even just injuries. We talked about load management last week when it comes to, capping these NBA games. So make sure you're following us on there to get the most up to the minute, picks that we have. Put that notifications on. And again, if we're cold, you want to fade us, I'm fine with that. Just make sure you're following, make sure we know what you're doing, and we can have fun. And like we've said before, we all want to just be better gamblers. I want to know what things you're seeing out there. Feel free to jump in the chat, add us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, anywhere. Corey, something that we kind of alluded to last week, and we have more picks for you tonight, but one of the other topics I wanted to talk about was, and we touched on a little bit last week, was the boosts that we see on, you see them on FanDuel, you see them on DraftKings, MGM, whatever book that you're utilizing. And something I alluded to last week was the concept of beware the boost. And what I mean by that is, FanDuel is going to throw up some odds there. The thing I hate about the boost is the max wager. If you're offering these, or, you're doing, a minus 175 bet, and I'm going to boost it to even just, plus 100, I could have made that bet on my own, and I could have put $500 down if I really wanted to.
Wow.
So it shows me that it's the disguise of a offer, or a sale, if you will,
or a sure thing.
A sure thing, exactly. The metaphor I'm going to give you is when you go grocery shopping, ketchup, $1 off when you buy 3. Bitch, I don't need 3 ketchup bottles. Do I actually need this? So my strategy when I'm looking at these boosts is that something I would be doing anyway? Do I find intrinsic value in what you're offering? Or am I just allured by the shiny sticker that says on sale now? What are your thoughts on the boosts?
Yeah, I don't ever play them, to be honest with you. The only boosts that I really ever played were the things that I was getting, and you guys just went through the same thing. When it was like,
those aren't even boosts. Those are just
Pistons score a 3-pointer. We'll double your money. Max bet $50. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to put $50 at the Pistons are going to score 1 3-pointer in this game and double my money real quick, or 1 point scored in the Thursday night football game. Stuff like that. No brainers, but yeah, I totally agree. I mean, look, there is zero reason for these sports books, Vegas, whatever you want to title you want to give them, the devil. There's zero reason for these books to give you a better chance to make money. What they're doing is enticing you to bet on things that are probably not going to hit. Guys, we've said it multiple times on this podcast. The only way I will play a parlay is if I bet each leg individually for at least twice the amount that I'm going to put on the parlay per leg. So I'm going to throw out arbitrary numbers. Let's say I'm going to place $1 on a 4-leg parlay. I better be willing to bet each individual leg of that parlay at $2 a pop. And again, right. we're not going to unit shame here, or strategy shame here, but But that's my strategy with parlays. The reason that the odds are what they are is because they're extremely difficult to hit, and when they hit, they're a blast. And that's exactly what these boosts are, is just pre-cut. They're cookie cutter, prefabricated parlays for you to just easily go click and grab one in an effort, in a hope to hit. And anybody in the chat, if you've been playing boosts and have been successful, I want to hear about it. I want to see those, because we're here to get better. And I want to know if you're making money off these fucking boosts that you're seeing rolling across.
Yeah, I want to know that too. And like you said there, Corey, obviously we're not talking about the, Bengals score 1, and those are literally not real. And I can tell you, I can give you a real example. The Bengals Bills game that got canceled, I won. That game didn't happen. Like, those aren't real. They're trying to give you a bankroll to bet with so they can take it from you.
Ryan, thanks for liking the stream, man.
Ryan, what's going on, man? No worries about being late. Jump in now. Let us know what you're playing this week. Let us know what you want to talk about. Here's my thing. The best example I can give you, and it was a loss, was FanDuel boosting Travis Kelce 25 plus yards in each half for the Super Bowl. I was really, really big on Travis Kelce in that game. And of course, it came mostly in the first half. But that's an example of a bet that I was on that anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking at that and going, okay, I was already in this headspace. I was already factoring putting some bankroll on some Travis Kelce stock in this game. That's an example. And again, that's a loss, but a lot of times these boosts lose. That's an example where I'm comfortable doing that. Again, it's the sale at the grocery store. Did I need ketchup when I'm going? Okay, no. So why would I buy 3 of them just because I'm saving $1 a bottle? That's all going to go bad before the time I get to use it. And I don't know why I'm keep using ketchup as an example. Change it for whatever grocery store item you like. The point is were you going to the store for that reason anyway? I do this shit all the time. I see, buy one, get one free London broils at the grocery store. And I got a bunch of London broils in my freezer, and sometimes they get freezer burn. Like, I don't need them. What was I planning on doing with them? That's the question.
Yeah.
So if you can get a boost that core aligns with plays that you already had, great. I'm going to shout out sportsbettingdime.com.
Great website.
They did a little bit of the legwork for me on this, so I very, very much appreciate it. Taking a look at BetMGM, Caesars, and FanDuel going all the way back to February 17th. So basically the last 30 boosts on these two sites, or on these 3 sites respectively, 8 and 25 is the record on those boosts. Now, one thing, excuse me as I grab my pen. One thing I want to mention, that includes bets that are boosted from plus 1,500 to plus 1,800. I'm not claiming those are good bets to make, but a lot of these ones too are minus 175 to plus 100. Of course, those are going to hit a little bit better. There's some bets in here that are, boosted from, Caesars as example, Suns to win and Booker to score 20 plus points on the 24th at plus 210. They boosted it plus, 22.5. It hit. I'm not saying don't ever play these. Of course, sometimes they're going to hit, but when you put a max bet on something, what they're trying to do is move money over to the other side because they feel like they have too much exposure. You're betting against sharps. You're betting against people that were so good at gambling that these companies hired them to work for them as opposed to against them. Okay. They know what they're doing. Obviously, we're on here trying to give our best advice, our best opinions, but just because you see a shiny on sale sticker does not mean you have to buy it. Yeah. Do the research behind it before you just decide, oh, well, those, I it's plus 150. Now it's plus 250. I have to do it. No, you don't.
Yeah. You absolutely don't. And we're here to learn a little bit more and share strategy. So appreciate Ryan jumping in the chat here with a comment saying college baseball on Sundays, play the odds on a parlay and you'll win, at least early on in the season. So I'm trying to pick that apart here.
I got to imagine, and this is just me guessing here, of course, Ryan, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine the odds makers are not throwing a ton of resources into capping college baseball, as with the fact of, you want to parlay it with the fact that it's early in the season and it's hard to know these teams. You can go off of, guessing on rosters. It's the same thing with, any sport at the beginning of the season. You take a look at the over-unders that the odds makers made, and that's kind of where the spreads come from in week one until we really have a full idea of what these teams look like. Again, you're going to put your best cappers on NFL because that's where the most of your exposure is. For college baseball, they'll let you bet on it, but that's such a small handle for the books that I imagine you can probably get better value on beating the odds, if you will.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. It's playing, this is the guy that last week was talking about playing Japanese horse racing. So I like him just coming on the obscure.
Ryan's our guy.
Yeah.
I like
welcome,
that.
Welcome to the Generous Degenerates, Ryan.
Along with Ryan here, one of the things I love to do is early in the baseball season, I want to bet you can do the first 6 inning bets with spread. I just take the money line of the team first 6 innings that has the best pitcher. That I assume that he's going to go 6. I assume that he is going to win that, especially a guy that's a Cy Young quality. Anybody that is in the top 30 odds of a Cy Young, I'll take that team, top 6. And of course, unless they're going up against a better pitcher. But that's something I love to do. And we'll get into that as pitchers and catchers have reported. And that, was a good segue into reminding you guys to make sure to turn into Ring 'em Up tomorrow with Todd and Bobby, who are going to be covering, some baseball plays, or excuse me, not plays because they're not necessarily covering it from the gamble side, but the world of baseball, and we're in spring training, and of course the World Baseball Classic going on as well.
Yeah, no, I think just in terms of gambling on baseball, or early in the season, a lot of these spreads that you're going to get are half a run. So it's you're picking winners, the entire time, right, or a run and a half, and absolutely going with the best pitcher. I mean, Ryan's alluding to it here in the chat, saying you'll have Tennessee versus Gonzaga. Tennessee's number 3 pitcher is better than number 1 Gonzaga the better than Gonzaga's number 1 pitcher. So just kind of looking at the team, understanding who's better, and just rolling with them. Just stacking. I guess what he's talking about is kind of just stacking the favorites into a parlay.
Sure.
And rolling with it early in the season when you're getting this interconference play, such as a powerhouse conference like the SEC versus Gonzaga, who's up in Washington, not necessarily known for being able to play baseball year round. So
no, that's fair. I love it. Any other strategies that you guys have, please throw them in here. I love that. We're gonna play that. When we get to college baseball season, we are going to 100% be playing that. When does college baseball season?
I think it's on right now. I think
really?
we're live. Yeah, I think it started last week or something like that. Ryan, you can correct me on that one there, buddy. But take a look at it. At least start tracking some bets and messing around and seeing what we can put together here. So yeah, that's exciting. But Major League Baseball is what, 2 weeks away? That's crazy.
Major League Baseball. We're still about 3. It's like the last week of March, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's March 8th, right?
I guess you're right. That's 1, 2. Yeah, we're basically about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
God damn. That's crazy. What? That's the fun time of year, man. When you got everything going on, minus football. But like we were saying, obviously we're still looking at, the draft, free agency coming up here. Free agency starting next week. A lot of stuff going on. Obviously we've been talking a ton of gambling here. Let's take a little step back though. We'll close on some gambling. A lot of stuff going on just in the world of sports as well. And we want to make sure we're covering everything. The NFL, I'll let you take your pick here. You want to talk about the combine? You want to talk about the quarterbacks in the NFL, or?
Yeah, I think let's start with the QBs in the NFL. Let's start with current. We'll move to the future here. Let's start with Lamar. Where are you landing on Lamar? Just kind of give me your interpretation of this whole situation.
I love it. I love everything that's happening. You've put out some great stuff on Twitter that, of course, collectively we are, Browns, Bengals, Steelers fans at Rally Towel Sports. So there is no love lost for the Ravens amongst any of us. So anytime we can see a traditionally pretty well-run franchise falter a little bit, you're not really going to see much empathy from us as a group. that's not necessarily fair to Lamar or the Ravens or anything like that. So to objectively look at it, there's a lot of different angles to this. There's of course somebody like Lamar Jackson who sees himself as won the MVP, an unorthodox type quarterback from the Ravens perspective, but somebody who has been getting the job done and doing it at an elite level. The thing that I keep coming back to is, he doesn't have an agent.
Yeah.
And that seems very important right now, because I think you are seeing not only the team and the Ravens, but just that general culture of there are relationships between agents and teams. There has to be.
Big time.
It's kind of the establishment pushing back against, what Lamar is asking for. Of course, the establishment was pushing back against the guaranteed Deshaun Watson contract, which is, of course, a huge role in all of this. But I think this is the teams and even the agents as a whole kind of looking at this as, we can't let this happen. I've seen 5 teams come out when they didn't need to say, I don't know about this. We don't want this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's better than we got. I don't know why he wouldn't.
Well, I do think that there is some of that to it, but also from a front office standpoint, you're looking at a quarterback in Lamar Jackson that since his MVP season has regressed every single year, whether it be due to injury or just performance. And he doesn't have an agent. So what I'm looking at from that perspective is, from a front office standpoint, an agent is a great thing to have, because it eliminates any of the malcontent or the drama that comes into negotiating a contract. Lamar is sitting there saying, I am a former MVP. I am one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but why aren't you willing to pay me top dollar? And as you alluded to, during the season, Aaron, it's like, well, Lamar, here's our issues. Let's look at completion percentage. Let's look at touchdowns. Let's look at how many games you've actually played in over the last 2 seasons. Those numbers are going down. You're asking us to invest in you for the next 7 years, 5 years, and pay you $50 million a year, fully guaranteed to do that. Tell us how that makes sense. And that, from just a interpersonal perspective, is a lot tougher to swallow as a player than when you're getting it through the mouthpiece of your agent, who's packaging it in a way that you need to hear in order to move towards getting a deal done. Because at the end of the day, the agent is compensated when the ink hits the paper. That's how they make their money. It's when the contracts are signed, they get a portion of it, which is why Lamar obviously doesn't have an agent. So from a front office standpoint, it's like, I'm looking at a quarterback that maybe his best days are behind him, and I have to negotiate directly with him. That doesn't sound fun to me. That doesn't sound like something that's not the kind of relationship I want with my franchise quarterback. I don't want it to be a business relationship directly with my franchise quarterback. Obviously, at the end of the day, that's what this is a business relationship. But having it negotiated directly with him just kind of adds those extra layers into there. And another point about free agency and agents having relationships with franchises, you're seeing it right now with one of the free agent defensive backs. Could be hop and ship to a team that's in the same division. I'm talking about Jesse Bates. His agent is Deshaun Watson's agent.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a lot of talk about Jesse Bates potentially going and signing with the Browns this offseason. So it's yeah, sure. Go ahead, spend the money. But but
it's not my money.
I know. Yeah. So it's a huge aspect, and I totally, I don't know if I'm willing to sign up for the point that you made about this is kind of an up in arms thing of we're going to band together against this no agent player and we're going to stick against, I don't know if I'm really ready to sign up for that so much as it's that just doesn't sound like a healthy relationship for our front office.
Yeah, that's fair. And I'm certainly not trying to paint it like that's 100% what's going on.
No, but it is an interesting point to look at the teams that are stepping up and saying, no, thank you. It's really? Look, what else are you going to trot out there?
Doesn't cost you anything to not say anything.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? The fact that they're actively going out and saying something is what is surprising me, because, and it'd be one thing if, you know, like for a team like Miami to do it, I understand why you're vocally putting out to, you know, a guy like Tua to say like, no, you know, we're sticking with it. You know what I mean? Like, I get it from that perspective, but that wasn't every team on that list. There was nobody whose ego, you know, you were trying not to bruise by coming out and saying anything at all.
And I think another point to look at this is that there are a lot of teams that are sitting there going like, fuck yes, that all of these teams are coming out and saying, the teams, the first team is the Ravens, because what they essentially did is like, all right, we're going to put this $34 million tag on you. Let's let the market decide where your value is. That's essentially what the Ravens just said. They said, this is what we value at, and we're going to let the market decide where your value is. If somebody values you at more than that, then they can either, you know, give us 2 picks or negotiate a different deal or match it or whatever. And they can go ahead and pay you that money. And that they put their nuts on the table. And so far, it's absolutely paying off for the Ravens. The other teams that are doing backflips right now at the current, you know, the last 12 hour, not even 12 hours. Shit. What are we looking at? Yeah. 24 hours relatively, right? Of this situation is teams that are looking to extend their quarterback. Those teams are like looking at the contracts that Derek Carr and Daniel Jones are getting. And they're like, yeah, okay, we're feeling good right now about where we're going to be landing on our contracts, when Lamar Jackson isn't even getting offers from these teams, and we're looking at a former MVP. So it's interesting. You're seeing Deshaun Watson's already going to be restructuring his deal as well, which everybody knew that was coming. But
well, actually, real quick on that, it's something that I knew about, but I know as a Browns fan, I'm probably just privy to this because this is my whole life. But there's a clause in Deshaun Watson's contract that they don't need his permission to change cap money to signing bonus. They can just do that whenever they want. They don't need him to sign on the line to do that.
If you're Deshaun, why wouldn't you?
You're getting the same, because it's all guaranteed. So it literally
money in your pocket now is more valuable than that same amount of money in your pocket later. Right, that money will appreciate more in your pocket than it will in the hands of somebody that owes it to you.
So the Browns have the ability every season to convert his money to signing bonus.
Yeah, it's a mutually beneficial deal.
Yeah, 100%. Well, because it's fully guaranteed, I'm sure that was the one thing the Browns said. We're just, you know, hey, listen, we have no problem doing that, but you got to do this for us.
Yeah,
and I'm, you know, from his perspective, why not? What's the difference of whether you're going to pay me out over the course of the season or a lump sum right now? So that just one interesting point I want to throw out there, just because I think it's useful information to know about, especially and moving forward. I want to touch on one more thing here on the Lamar thing, because I know I have some stuff in the chat here we want to discuss. But
yeah,
is this relationship tenable?
Can this last? Is this did they build this ship to last? To quote the great Florence and the Machine? No, no, they didn't. They absolutely didn't. I don't see that this. I don't see this being something that is sustainable in the long term for the Baltimore Ravens. Is it sustainable for the next 365 days? Probably. Is that the team that he plays for next year? I've said something different than that for a long time, and it's starting to catch wheels in social media, at least, which of course we know means close to nothing, but it's fun to fantasize about. But is this something that the Baltimore Ravens can do going forward, of basically saying, we don't value you as much as you think, and here's what we're going to do about it. We're not going to give you a long-term deal. We're just going to franchise tag you, and if somebody else wants to come get you, that's fine by us, which is what they said with what they did. You can call it a unrestricted franchise tag all you want, but that's what they did. They lowballed Lamar.
Yeah,
they lowballed Lamar, and they're willing to lose Lamar.
Did they? Because again, like you said, the market is going to decide. Is any team going to offer him more than what the Ravens have already offered him over the last year and a half? And the irony here is you're negotiating with a team that's last 2 Super Bowls were won by Trent Dilfer and Joe Flacco.
So crazy.
To sit here and say like, well, we need this guy to win it. That's the only team who can go, I think we can piecemeal this.
But that's the thing is this isn't Trent Dilfer. This isn't Joe Flacco.
No, I know, but I'm like it's like the example in the NBA is always the Pistons in the 2000s of like the Chauncey Billups. Like, okay, you don't need the top five guy. You just need 5 really good guys that play well together. The Ravens were that team in the NFL. They never had a Peyton Manning, a Tom Brady.
It was always an elite defense and a serviceable quarterback. That's what it was. They've never had stud wide receivers dripping around there. They've always just had an elite defense and an offense that can convert points.
So if there's ever a fan base that doesn't need convincing, it's the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, absolutely. But there is one team that it makes a lot of sense for. And that's the Detroit Lions.
The Detroit Lions.
I said this maybe 2 months ago. I said, Lamar's liking tweets about he's been seen in Detroit. I don't know, man. They got the cap space. They absolutely have the cap space. The Lions can give up a first round pick and still have a top 10 pick. Right. They would give up their 18th because I don't think in this situation they're allowed to give up the 5th, if I'm not mistaken, because it's not their
it works if you
it's not their pick. It's not their pick technically to give up. This was the terms of a trade. So I don't know if that is how that works on the unrestricted franchise tag, but I've heard that the Lions would basically give up the 18th pick and a 24 first rounder. They would still have
right, because the Rams pick is actually the right.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I wasn't following. I get exactly what you mean.
The Rams pick is actually the 5th overall pick that they have.
Yeah, I believe it's your pick.
Yes.
If you have 2 first round picks, I don't know if you have the ability to choose.
So they could give him the 18th and a 24 first and beat the deal. Say we're going to spend $40 million on Lamar Jackson. Go ahead and extend him after that. Maybe we trade Jared Goff in there to, do something else, get him off the books or put him on as a backup. Jared Goff's not a bad backup, especially at the trade deadline when you're looking at a team that needs somebody. Maybe a quarterback gets hurt and they're a fringe playoff team trying to get in there. Jared Goff's great trade bait in terms of that. Imagine Lamar in a dome for 8 games in that offense with wide receivers. With Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown, more weapons than he has ever had in his career, ever.
Yeah. Yeah, and he'd be playing in Minnesota too, which has a dome as well.
Yep.
But of course, the other 2 are Chicago and Green Bay. So, we'll see. But I 100% get your point. And the other thing too is, everyone wants to say that Baltimore has, all the leverage here. The 2 second-round picks is the rule. The Ravens have the ability to trade him at any point for anything less than that. So let's just say Lamar comes back and just says, I don't care what you do. I am never putting on purple and black again.
Right.
And the Lions are sitting over here knowing that because he isn't, basically a free agent at this point. He can, talk to whoever he wants. He doesn't have to worry about that. And of course, we know he doesn't have an agent, so he can talk directly to them. The Lions, he basically is almost like a college recruit at that point, where you can do whatever you want to be like, hey, here's what we got, here's what we're gonna do, here's what we envision for you, here's what we're doing, and for Detroit, I think that makes a ton of sense. But most importantly, Lamar holds most of the leverage in this situation. The Ravens, of course. Now, the only reason he wouldn't is if that market does decide we don't value you the way that you do. I don't know. To go back to the original question, I don't view this as a tenable relationship. And I'm starting now to get to the point where if this was a 50-50 bet, I would be betting that I would take the field as opposed to the Ravens.
Interesting, because a lot of talk in our group chat and online is that he's absolutely going to, he's going to be with the Ravens next season and things like that. But I don't know. Detroit just makes a lot of sense for me. Just makes a lot of sense. We got a couple other things going on in here in the chat. We appreciate you. I just want to give everybody a quick shout out. We are doing a merch giveaway right now. Head over to YouTube. Go to Rally Towel Sports and subscribe to our channel. Let us know that you subscribed. Give us a little screenshot showing that you're subscribed. We're going to be giving away some merch. We've got about 32 away. Our goal is to get to 100 subscribers on YouTube. So help us go over. We're trying to grow that platform a little bit. I know we've got way more of that on Facebook and on Twitter, but we're trying to grow the YouTube reach a little bit. So head on over there, subscribe. Just show us proof that you've subscribed, and we'll enter you in the raffle. It's going to be like a 1 out of 50 chance that you're going to be winning this thing. If you're already subscribed, go ahead and just show us that too. We'll enter you in. No big deal. We appreciate you guys, the loyal listeners, as well as the new ones. So head on over to YouTube and subscribe. All right, Aaron, let's see. Let's start digging in here. We got some good quarterback questions coming into the chat. Bobby coming in saying, what about Daniel Jones standing there behind the counter like a Pawn Stars employee holding the line? And
I got a guy. I got a guy for that.
Let me call my quarterback guy.
Let me call my bum quarterback guy.
Let me get my 20 touchdown quarterback guy and go see what he has to say about this coin you're trying to pawn off. But all the way down to the wire, Aaron. And Rally Towel Sports family was correct. We put a poll out. What do the Giants do by 4? Sign Daniel Jones, tag Barkley. Sign Barkley, tag Jones. Trade, other, whatever. Nailed it right on the head. Sign Daniel Jones, franchise tag Saquon.
Yeah, I get why they did it. I don't like it. I am of the opinion of you avoid quarterback purgatory at all costs. I don't believe that anything they just did put them closer to winning a championship. I saw progression last year with Dayball on the roster. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Daniel Jones probably played the best football I've ever seen him play in his career. But I mean,
they went to the playoffs, right?
Yeah, exactly. And he played admirable. He's a sneaky athletic guy. I think a lot of people don't realize how quick he is. His legs do him a lot of good, but he's not like a Jalen Hurts. He's not, he's certainly not like a Lamar Jackson. And here's the thing. It always reminds me of the mid 2000s, early 2010 Atlanta Hawks, where it's,
wow,
you're good, never going to win anything.
With Al Horford.
Al Horford, yeah, Josh Smith, Kyle Korver.
What a reference.
Fucking Jeff Teague. Not doing it for me, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah. Good for them. I think there is something to consistency.
Yeah.
Was the investment that crazy?
No, it's 2 years, Aaron. I mean, it's a 4-year deal. They have an opt-out after 2. And most of the money is front-loaded into that contract, which is why Daniel Jones signed up for it. So he's going to get his, 82 within the first 2 years is what he's going to walk away with. And then after that, the Giants can, cut and run if they want to.
Yeah, and it's a move that, if this doesn't work out this year and you have a top 10 pick, you have no reservations about taking a quarterback.
Yep.
Absolutely. So in that regard, I'm fine with it.
Or if you land in the middle of the draft next year and there's a project guy out there, there's a guy's like, yeah, we think he's NFL ready, but maybe in a year. You feel okay because Daniel Jones is going to be gone that next year. You're going to cut him, and he's probably going to play really well because he's playing for a contract.
You just redraft Daniel Jones then.
Exactly, yeah.
But at least it's on a rookie deal.
A lot cheaper. We can go get weapons this time.
Yeah, right. Because that's really what it was what they did with Eli. They're like, I don't know, that guy looks like Eli Manning. Let's take him.
Fantastic.
It's fine. It's fine. Again, Daniel Jones just does nothing for me. He is the Atlanta Hawks. What else we got going on here in the chat? Some people asking, Bobby asking, do you think the Bengals pursue Henry? Oh, see you, Mixon. That too. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, so
you'll be able to speak on this better than I can.
I mean, it's just a wild situation. All in all, basically, shots were fired right outside Joe Mixon's house. A 13-year-old boy was struck in the leg with a bullet. I haven't heard anything as to whether or not Joe Mixon was the one pulling the trigger, or if he's been arrested or anything like that. I haven't seen, anything saying that Joe Mixon has been implicated as the person that has committed the crime. So I'm not going to address any of that, other than the fact that he seemingly finds himself in hot water lately, a couple of times. which is not something that a Zach Taylor Bengals team will be allowed on a Zach Taylor Bengals team. So just will be interesting. The other thing outside of that is Joe Mixon likely to just end up being cut, not related to off the field issues, more so related to as a cap casualty. Essentially, the Bengals can extend Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, re-sign and extend Logan Wilson, and make free agent acquisitions and be about $5 million over the cap. Joe Mixon's about a $12 to $14 million cap hit right now. So I would anticipate that the Bengals are going to be making a move on the running back side. They have interviewed probably 3 or 4 of the top running backs available in this upcoming draft. So you honestly could see Mixon and Pirine gone. They feel good about Williams. They feel good about Evans, 2 guys that they also drafted. So just keep an eye on that. Talking about Derrick Henry, I'm good. Yeah, just from a fan perspective, I absolutely don't want that trade. I think I said in our group chat, the most that I would give up for Derrick Henry is probably a 4th-round pick, and I would need some cash back. I think he's like a $25 million a year running back, if I'm not mistaken. But you have to pull that up on Spot Track. But Derrick Henry's had 17,000 touches. You're going to tell me that he's going to get better over the next couple of years? Is that you're telling me, that I'm going to get more out of Derrick Henry than I've already seen? I don't buy that.
It's a Madden move. Like that
Yes.
sounds cool.
Yes.
Like that sounds cool.
Yes.
That's a terrible decision. That would be a terrible decision, especially when you're trying to pay Burrow, Chase, and Higgins. There's, in my opinion, 2% chance that happens, especially at his current contract.
Yeah.
I won't rule it out to 0, even though I want to.
It'd be so un-Bengals. Just like trading T. Higgins would be the most un-Bengals thing, because there's not a franchise in the NFL that values wide receiver more than the Bengals. I mean, look at the draft capital that they have consistently spent over the last 2 decades on drafting wide receivers. I mean, just look at the last 10 years. We're looking at AJ Green, Mohamed Sanu, Marvin Jones, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, the list, TJ Houshmandzadeh, Chad Ochocinco, the list. You can just go on and on about all of these really good wide receivers. Mike Brown loves wide receivers. There was 0 chance they were going to trade T. Higgins, and shout out to Duke Tobin for putting that in the fucking can immediately when he got there at the combine. But it would be so un-Bengals for them to go and make a marquee free agency trade. They just don't do shit like that. They don't.
Yeah. Now, if let's say the Titans cut him and he's just a free agent, and you have the Joe Burrow effect, and he says, "I want to go play there," I think the Bengals would let him in the door. So, yeah, certainly
$8 million a year. Sound good to you, Derek? You want to go win a Super Bowl? Let's go.
Yeah, but I would argue there's other. Why wouldn't he go to the Chiefs, or why? You know what I mean? Like if he has complete free range to go where. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if some guys say, "I want to go play for Joe Burrow," or play with him. That would be the only scenario to me. Now, if it's at his current contract, not a chance in hell. Just not a chance in hell. Couple other things, going on in the chat here, or do we cover that? I know we got Daniel Jones, we got Henry. It's kind of that for at least that talk. Other things we want to talk about for NFL and quarterbacks.
Just seeing Taylor Lewan's name pop up in here, as well as a guy that he, obviously on Bussin' with the Boys, the podcast, and he's basically like, I heard the Bengals need a left tackle, just kind of floating that out there. I don't know if you saw that clip. So Twitter,
no.
Yeah, he had says, like, I don't know, since he needs a left tackle, and gave a hooday on his podcast and stuff like that. Obviously, he wants to play with Joe Burrow. He's lost to him twice in the last 18 months. But I don't think that the Bengals necessarily I'll take Taylor Lewan 5 years ago. Great, that'd be sick. I'll take that.
Yeah, that's a guy trying to position himself to the fan base. That's probably not a move the front office makes, but him looking around at the landscape, he's saying that this is my best option for me.
Yeah.
You know,
I get that.
Yeah, I don't mind. I get why he's doing it, but it's not like if the Texans pick up the phone and they're the only team, he's going to say no.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what's that? 12 million? Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Houston, humid, right?
I get to play the Titans twice a year, so absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. Go ahead.
No, that was really it. It's like I get why he's doing it. I don't really put too much stock in that.
Just to put a bow on the Bengals free agency, you're not going to. Now there have been reports of people close to the front office. Malik Wright, one of those guys, he's great follow on Twitter for free agency if you're a Bengals fan. So go check him out. Or if you hate the Bengals and you're just curious what your enemy has been doing, go follow Malik. He does a great job. But the thing that he has said is that you will see a little bit more. The Bengals front office recognizes the situation that they are in, that the time is now, and that you will see them step out a little bit more than usual. What that looks like, I'm not sure. But what I can tell you, what you will typically see out of the Cincinnati Bengals front office in free agency is middle tier free agency acquisitions that still improve the team from a cap space perspective and from a skills perspective. They did it last year with the offensive line. They didn't really go out and make a bunch of. Teron Armstead is not a Cincinnati Bengal because of the money that he demanded, right? Lael Collins was their biggest signing, and look what that did. It absolutely flopped. This team has not been rewarded for going out and making these large acquisitions. I don't anticipate them changing a whole lot in that regard.
Yeah, winning free agency doesn't mean much outside of there's no football going on, so it's just something to grab onto. But to your point, and this isn't how you win free agency. It is those mid free agency signings that, when we do get into when we're in week 10 and beyond, and somebody that you sign in the offseason is now getting depth and actual snaps. Those are huge, huge moves. It's great to sign depth in free agency. It's not necessarily great to try to plug holes in starts. That's not always the case, but
here's what I want to see. And I think if you're a fan of any team that's like in contention, you're one of the last 10 picks this year in the draft. What you want to see in free agency is putting your team in a position to take the best player available in the draft in the first round, regardless of the position outside of quarterback, obviously. That's what you want to see out of free agency, that, your team has acquired enough people to fill in any gaps that you need, or we got better enough in free agency that we can take the best player on the board to add depth in the draft, because that's what the Bengals did in the first round, drafting Dax Hill. They're not signing Jesse Bates. He's not back. He's gone. Jermaine Pratt, gone. Eli Apple, gone. These guys are going to go out, and the Bengals probably don't want Eli Apple back, but Jermaine Pratt's going to command more money than they're willing to pay him, and they've got Akeem Davis-Gaither sitting there right behind him, ready to take his spot. He did it when he was injured, or when Logan Wilson was injured, and played phenomenally. So that's what I want out of my team, is I want to be able to take the best player on the board, whether it's an offensive lineman, an edge rusher, a wide receiver. Tyler Boyd's going to be gone in a couple of years, guys. We're going to have to backfill that shit. So I'm absolutely wanting that out of this team for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I will, see the Bengals talk to you here. I have no idea. But that all tracks.
Just from a strategy perspective.
No,
yeah. I mean, you want to just get to the point on draft day where you're taking the best person on the board, when you obviously don't have that many holes as you were just in the conference championship game.
Right.
Well, I think the other thing we need to talk about is Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. I was gonna say, because if you want to talk draft talk, I have to wait till Friday to even get my point across. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is. Boy, how do I put this? Just annoying as hell.
Oh, yeah.
Insufferable might be too far, but probably right on the nose. Douchey a little bit, sure.
Tool.
Nice schism. I don't know. I mean, it looks like the Jets are the team that make the most sense. They have a ton of young and hungry guys. We've seen, Sauce Gardner tweeting out he's going to burn his cheese heads and I won't pick you in practice. Garrett Wilson. I get what they're doing. and quite frankly, if Aaron Rodgers shows up tomorrow on the Jets, that might be the best skill position group he's ever had. I know Devontae Adams is phenomenal.
I mean,
but as a combination,
you have Jordy, Devontae, Jordy, and Kyle all play on the same team because that's pretty good.
I do not know.
Because I think when they won the Super Bowl, they had a pretty
well. I'll tell you this: it'll be the first time he's going to play with a first-round wide receiver. How about we leave it at that?
Yeah. Fair enough. I don't know. I don't disagree that skills position set is low. I mean, you got Breece Hall.
Breece Hall comes back. Yeah, I was going to say they got a nice stable of receivers. I love Garrett Wilson. They have a pretty good line. They're not top 5, but I don't think
stay healthy. I mean, they got AIDS last year.
It's football.
Yeah.
I if everyone can stay healthy, they'd that'd be great.
Amazing defense.
Is there another team? I mean, we've heard it beaten to death at this point now with the Jets. I don't see him going back to Green Bay. I really don't.
No.
Is there anybody else that even tracks? I'm trying to think of like an NFC team because that's the path of least resistance. But are the Packers going to be more incentivized to trade him? Well, he has a no trade clause, I think, so it really doesn't matter.
I think though, like when I know we got a lot of Bills fans that watch, but I think the AFC East looks appealing right now. I don't trust the Patriots going forward. Tua has a lot of questions to answer next season again. Obviously, if you throw out the first 5 weeks of the season, Tua did not have a good year. Obviously, he burned the city down in his first 5 weeks. Looked phenomenal. Sure. But outside of that, there wasn't a whole lot there. So there's still a lot of questions around Tua. And then the Bills, I think, not to, recency bias here, but they did get a little bit exposed in the divisional round. And it kind of gives me like Titans vibes of the year prior to where, they were the number 1 seed. The Bills were a powerhouse. They were the Super Bowl favorite. They weren't the number 1 seed, but the Titans were, is what I meant. But and lost in the divisional round. So the AFC East looks kind of appealing. And if you go to the Jets and like you said, you've got some solid wide receivers. You have a phenomenal defense, and you've got a great running game and a coach that has been in a system that you are comfortable with. Saleh, Niners, Aaron Rodgers is comfortable with that style of offense. I don't know. It makes a whole lot of sense to me. I don't see any other team banging down the door to get in front of Rodgers right now. But one thing's for certain. I just combined sure and certain. It's a new word. One thing's for certain there, partner. Aaron Rodgers is going to milk the fuck out of this and try and get as much fucking camera time as he can and boost Pat McAfee's fucking show every Tuesday just to talk a little bit more about this. He loves the spotlight. He's such a fucking narcissist. I cannot stand this dude. And this is coming from somebody that, like, before last year, like early parts of the season when the whole like contract thing was going down, I was like, get your money, Playboy. Like, you deserve it, Aaron. You're an MVP. Like, you're a Super Bowl guy, Super Bowl champion, get paid. And it just kept dragging out. And it just made me hate him so much more as it went through.
Right.
And I know that this is not going to be a quick turnaround here. He's going to take his time for sure. That's where I land on it.
Yeah, I kind of want to leave it at that because I don't really want to give him I just don't care so much. It'll happen. And like we saw last year, like I'm waiting for Derek Carr is not the first domino to fall here. It's, it's going to be Rodgers or it's going to be Lamar. Because when I look at the
Derek Carr signed.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's already happened. I don't think that really is affecting the quarterback market. I'm saying like a team like the Jets, would you rather invest in Lamar or would you rather take Rodgers? So I'd rather take Rodgers because I know what I'm getting and I'm not investing long-term. I'm going in for 2 years and saying, if I can get a Super Bowl out of this, that would be phenomenal. If I can get an AFC championship game, that'd be pretty cool too. So
And again, it comes back to the agent thing for me. Like, I'd rather negotiate with an agent than my quarterback. That's not like we talked about it. The way that the Ravens and Lamar move forward from here is pretty questionable. How do they move forward as having a partnership and being in each other's corner? It's hard to say that they can. So just from that perspective alone, I would much rather do a deal with Aaron Rodgers than straight up with Lamar Jackson working through an agent with Aaron.
Yeah. No, I agree. We can move on from there. Anything else NFL wise?
Not yet. Lot to happen here in the next week. I'm sure by next time around. I think free agency will have tampering starts on the 13th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, tampering starts on Monday, so we'll hear
free
about
agency opens Wednesday.
Yeah, so we'll hear about deals on Monday and Tuesday for sure, and then the deals will become official on Wednesday, which is perfect timing for us to come in on Wednesday, and I'm sure we'll have something to say about it. But betting odds right now, just to bring it back to the gambling perspective, the Detroit Lions are the best bet for Lamar Jackson right now at plus 300. So 3-1 odds on the Detroit Lions, if not the Baltimore Ravens landing Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. You texted that to us, right? What other odds do we have there? We got the Bucks, the Colts, the Jets. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at it. I'm trying to see if you can actually find any value. These are the bets that I like. I never like making these type of bets just because it's so.
There's so much hidden behind the door that we're not privy to. It's really hard to make that bet.
Had they not gone all in for Trey Lance, I would love the Niners. I just don't think they have the draft capital to make it work. But when I think about Kyle Shanahan with Lamar Jackson at running, like they'd never. Can you imagine Lamar and Christian McCaffrey in the same backfield?
Mm-hmm.
Just be.
What about the Falcons? I know that they said they're out already, but
I don't put any stock into that.
Deshaun also said he wasn't going to go to Cleveland.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I mean, like, the makings are there for it to just be the NFC Ravens. Like, there isn't really a standout receiver to me. They have Kyle Pitts, who could maybe be Mark Andrews. A defense that's starting to bud a little bit.
Yeah. As long as they're healthy, right?
It's just domed. It isn't a dome though, so it's just domed Ravens.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, right? But
I guess Drake London is better than
you're out. You're out of the AFC North though. You're in a division that is open.
That is a wide open division. I don't know. I would guess Carolina to me would be probably my favorite long shot of those, just because they have shown that they are impatient when it comes to the quarterback position, and like they made the Darnold trade. They made obviously Baker
signed Baker,
trade, but that they're willing to go that route, and I think that shows that's ownership to me. When you do that, there's impatientness there. An owner who has been there for 3-4 years or so, 3 years I think now at this point.
Yeah.
I think if I'm taking a long shot looking at these odds at plus 1,200, I think Carolina is the only one that I would venture for. Bobby throwing in the chat, there's a ton of talent in Indy. That is true. They gave up a little bit for Wentz, and then of course got some of it back with the what's their pick in the draft this year? They're 4?
Yes, they are the 4th pick.
They're a team to me that I think would rather draft.
I would rather draft. If I'm Indy, I would rather draft. Much rookie quarterback deal. There's nothing more valuable than a rookie quarterback deal. Especially a good rookie quarterback.
The only teams that make sense are, we're a quarterback away, and the Lions. And I'm not saying the Lions aren't.
I think they are a quarterback. They could be a quarterback away.
I think they're. Well, I think that bridges the gap. I think a Lamar Jackson bridges.
I think they're the favorites to win that division if they sign Lamar.
Yeah, but I also think that's because let's face it, they didn't make the playoffs this year, and it was a success.
It was.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a team that
they also didn't have their first round draft pick for most of the year.
If Aaron Rodgers is leaving the division, I see the Lions as a team that can contend for that spot. and now put Lamar Jackson in there, and I think they're a favorite to take over that spot.
Yeah.
So Lamar Jackson has, I believe, he hasn't made it to the conference championship game. Has he even won a playoff game? Or he's won one, I think? One? Yeah.
He hasn't made it past the divisional round, though.
Right. So for the Lions, it makes a ton of sense. Like, them getting into the playoffs, them winning a playoff game would be huge for them. I'm not trying to put Lions fans down by any means. I'm just trying to paint a realistic, those are the type of teams that make those type of moves. And that still could, that could win you a Super Bowl. I don't see it happening with Lamar Jackson in Detroit. But it's not going to be a team like Indy that would rather reset the clock.
Absolutely. Anything that kind of puts a bow? We'll obviously have a lot more to talk about in terms of the NFL as everything gets rolling here over the next 7 days. A lot's going to happen here in the next 5 days, but by the time we're back, we'll have plenty to talk about, I'm sure. But bring it back to the degenerate side of things here. Anything you like in the NBA, Aaron? What are we looking at?
There's an early bet I like, and I'm waiting to see the line react a little bit. Because that's one of the things that we talked about last week was, when's the right time to place that bet? I'm going to wait until tomorrow to place this. I'm going to see if it's moved since I wrote it down. It actually has moved away from where I want it. So maybe
quick update, live update, Aaron. We got Michael Porter Jr. at over 17.5 at halftime. He's got 10, baby.
Yeah, and he started like 1 for 5, which I was pissed about because I'm like, all right, well, the shots are there. I knew they were going to look at them. You got to make them. So let's go, Porter Jr. Let's finish that out.
Let's go, baby.
For what I'm looking at tomorrow is I really, really like the Jazz. I had it written down at +3.5. That's where it started. We're at +3 right now. Jazz at Orlando. Jazz are 31-35. The Magic are 27-39. A couple of things here. Orlando against the spread in their last 10 are 3-7. That's kind of something we've talked about over the last week here, is taking a look at the trends and that being priced in. One of the things I do want to note, though, because this is a season-long trend, the Magic are 3-8 when they are the favorite on the spread. They are traditionally an underdog for most of the season. Both of these teams are kind of jockeying for the bottom. The Jazz, I think, are just too good, unfortunately, for their roster. They're going to be okay in the long run with all the picks that they do have. But I just think there's better players on the Jazz here. So I really like the +3.5. Looking like it's at +3 now. I'm probably going to jump on it.
I just
want
did.
this one to get away from me.
I just jumped on it.
But I'm just looking at the fact that the Magic just, there's no they're not a team that
terrible. They're terrible.
Is traditionally favored. They're pretty. You know what though? They're good.
They have the best rookie in the league.
Yeah, and they have some guys, and I've really, Markelle Fultz has been pretty good this year. Obviously, Franz Wagner is a very good player as well. They're just not there quite yet, and not that the Jazz are by any means. But if I'm going to get a team in the Magic favored by 3 points, again, they can win this game by 1 point, and I'm still winning this bet. I think if you even want to sprinkle a little on the Jazz money line, I'd be okay with that. I'm gonna keep the points here and take a look at the +3. I'm also gonna I'm still getting the 3.5, so we're gonna jump on that right now, and we're good. So that's really the only thing that stood out to me for tomorrow. I'll have another play by tip off on Thursday, but if you take a look at these games, there's Golden State, Memphis, Brooklyn, and Milwaukee is the one to me that's going to be the most fun. I'm going to have a couple player props for us tomorrow. The problem with doing that now is I don't know who's playing and who's not because it's the NBA.
Yeah.
But I think Brooklyn, Milwaukee presents a really, really good player prop market. Mikal Bridges has been, playing out of his shoes here. I actually I'd have to see what the line is going to be, but I'm curious to see what his over under is. I think Brooklyn has tremendous length at the wing position. But I think, of course, going against Giannis is going to prove very, very difficult for them. So we'll see how that looks. I think a bet that I would really like tomorrow is probably the Brook Lopez over on 3-pointers made, because traditionally, or at least this Brooklyn team is just an island of 3-and-D guys, which is great for them. But this is not the lineup that I would like for that. They kind of like to spread everybody out and let Giannis go to work down low. I'd like Brook Lopez has been hitting the 3-pointer at a pretty solid clip. Yeah. Again, we'll preview some of these tomorrow when we have all of the information. But that's kind of where I'm leaning for this one. It's not a great, Thursday night is typically your best slate. The other game here is going to be the Knicks in Sacramento on the Thursday night late game. Sacramento is one of the worst defensive teams in the league, but boy, are they good on offense. They're a team that's really just been, their over-unders are always the highest. So I always tend to want to bet the under, but it's not really playing great for me. I'm leaning the under in this one just because I think it's going to be priced in at the fact that the Knicks are 6-4 in their last 10 for the over, and the Kings are 7-3. We'll see. But,
so what we mean by that is kind of betting against the trend, right, Aaron?
Yeah. I'm looking a little bit against the trend here just because of the fact that it's unsustainable. And the Knicks have actually played some solid defense. The thing that, and the other thing too here is, and why I don't think the over-under is out just yet is so far it looks like Brunson and Fox are not going to play in this game.
Are out, yeah.
So I'm probably just going to stay away from this one. That's again part of the reason I don't think this is a fantastic slate. But we'll probably put a little action down on this Brooklyn Milwaukee game, and I have a late 8:30 basketball game myself, so I'll be awake for that Knicks Sacramento game. So I'll probably put something down on there. Is there anything catching your eye with this slate, or?
No, just one thing that I'd say that is relatable from NBA to NHL, and something that I've been doing, and I just did it again tonight, is going on back-to-backs. I just went and faded back-to-backs 2 nights in a row on some NHL action. So I had Minnesota in and playing or hosting Calgary. Calgary was on a back-to-back. They came into Minnesota. They're on the road. Minnesota, great home environment there for the Wild. Went to a shootout and they lost. Now I had them -1. I sold some points and still had plus action on it, but didn't end up covering on that one. And tonight I had Minnesota going on the road to Winnipeg on a back-to-back after having just played a game in overtime, went to a shootout. It was a hard-fought game, very physical. So I was thinking, okay, we're going to get some tired legs here. Winnipeg's vying for a playoff spot. Could be a good opportunity. They're going to be coming out fresh legs, ready to go at home and try and get them at +1, lost by 2 goals. So just learning and continuing to take that data and move forward. Just as we're in a playoff push for the NBA, we're in a playoff push for hockey as well. So a lot of good action going around everywhere. Not a whole lot on the NBA that I've got going on right now. As you said, if we see anything tomorrow, we'll be putting it out. Where are we going to be putting that out, Aaron?
We're going to be putting that out on our Twitter at rally_tal_s, on TikTok at rallytalsports. One other thing I want to mention here is the Cavs Heat game just wrapped up. Not a pick for tomorrow. The Cavs just won by 4 in Miami. I need to wait to see what the line is going to look like, but Cleveland will be playing Miami again on Friday. They just won on Wednesday night. They're going to spend 2 nights in the city of Miami. They were favored by 1 point tonight. My guess is the Heat are maybe favored by a point in Friday, because again, it's very hard to beat a team twice in a row. They just played in Miami. They're going to play in Miami again on Friday. There we go. He's already doing it. Chris Stewart knows. Cavs Heat Friday again. Hammer that under and over hero threes again. I like the Heat spread in that one. What it's going to be, I think it's probably going to be Heat maybe -1.5 as the Cavs were favored tonight. But I like where Chris's head is at. Hero is I was actually talking with Chris before this game. We like to throw a couple bets at each other about the Cavs. As a good rule of thumb, take the best 3-pointers shooters over in the game, and you'll probably have a decent day. They are, I believe, 29th in the NBA at closeout 3-point percentage. It's tough, man. Sometimes it's really, really hard to watch. They do give up a 3-point at a frustrating rate. I like where Chris says that, but again, you're going to have the Cavs spend 2 nights in Miami after winning, so they're feeling good right now. I think they're going to go out, spend some time on South Beach. I like where Chris's head is at on that one.
Tired legs, heavy eyelids, bars in Miami stay open until 4. So if you're an NBA player, I'd probably be doing the exact same thing.
It would be interesting. Let me look at the box score here, because this again was a 104-100 game. So that under hit. Again, that's going to be priced in. So there might be, and again, it depends on where the line comes out. If it's at 208.5, I'm going to take the over.
Right. Even you're seeing something around 229 or something like that.
Yeah, you're probably going to get around somewhere between 215, 218, I would guess.
Okay.
For the over under, I would lean towards the under there as well. But again, like we said, you don't always want to just look at the trend and go, all right, well, it's going to happen this time and that. But when's the right time to fade away from it?
Well, and interesting, because Vegas bakes it in, is what you're saying, right? They bake it into what the spread is, yeah, or what the over.
So Donovan Mitchell tonight had 18. That is one where I would maybe look at that over under and maybe take the under again. It's just they do a really good job of guarding Mitchell. That was actually one I wanted to play tonight. That's not a fun one to throw down and root for.
Sure.
But if you want to bet and win, don't do it with your heart.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing to note for the socials tomorrow, we've got a really fun slate. Obviously, the Players is going to be kicking off tomorrow. So excited. One of the fucking best golf tournaments of the year. One of the most challenging golf courses back to back, man. Fucking playing at Bay Hill, then going to TPC. These guys are just going through the gauntlet, which is exactly what they need, gearing up for the Masters. Obviously, we've got a lot of gambling things that we're hosting as well. We're doing March Madness brackets. We're doing a Masters pool. Please jump in. These are going to go to charity. They're going to help support the podcast, and you're going to be able to win some money as well. But I will be live tweeting the Players again tomorrow, just like I did for the Arnold Palmer. So go ahead and follow us on Twitter at rally_towel_s. And we'll be tweeting out. We got second and third round playing of conference tournaments for college basketball. So there's going to be games going on from noon all the way throughout the night. So we'll be dropping some plays. We went 1-0-1 today. So looking to continue the positive streak. If we go 1-0-1 every single day, Aaron, we're in a good spot, aren't we?
I'm loving those. Those.
Yeah.
One final note here from Chris in the chat saying, fuck Bam. 0 rebounds, 0 bets ever going on him again until next week. Of course, we've all been there. Sometimes you got to throw some guys in the same game parlay. I know Chris is a big fan of the same game parlay. He hits it at a surprising clip. He really loved the Adam Dunn comparison last week.
It was fantastic.
212 hitter with the 40 dingers. That's Chris's betting strategy, and you can't fault him for it. I think as a rally towel, generous.
What up, Tez?
What's going on, Tez? I think we need to rock a golfer each week that we're doing this. Are we? Obviously, we have our bets made, but who's our guy this week?
Our rally towel sport.
I think it's Homa, right?
I mean, the thing about that is like Barstool kind of has him. You know what I mean? Like they're kind of like, butt buddies. He's always doing the podcast and he's all over Barstool.
No, I'm just saying for this week, we'll have a new guy next week. But
I'm on him. I'm on him every week though. That's the thing is like I'm always on this guy. So as I will nominate somebody, we are a podcast that supports small markets, right? Mm-hmm. We want to highlight small markets. and you can equate a small market to an underdog of sorts. I vote and will nominate for our guy of the week.
Okay.
Somebody that's had a hard go at TPC. Somebody that has been beaten down. They're downtrodden, but they're showing some spark. What we like to see in that underdog. You're starting to hear in the back. What's that? Jordan Spieth. I'm nominating Jordan Spieth as our guy. What are your thoughts? Too big a name?
No, I mean, we were talking about it earlier. He hasn't had necessarily great success there, and of course, him coming out hot on Sunday is baked into the odds, so you're not getting great value on his number because the most eyeballs are on the screen on Sunday, and everyone saw him play well. Oh boy. Anyways, no, go ahead.
Chris just derailing the chat.
I love it.
He said, last comment. What's the over-under on Sean Kemp jail time after this drive-by? Oh, boy. Speaking of 50 fucking games for Ja.
Did that actually come out officially? I know they were waiting to see.
Oh, I thought that was like a thing.
Well, that's if they're trying to, if he brought a gun onto a team facility, it's an automatic.
Isn't a plane technically a team facility?
Yeah, I think that's the point of the investigation right now is to find out whether he did or not. I don't know if it came out that he did yet officially, but if so, that's pretty fucking bad luck. But as especially for a guy who they were basically on a platter giving him the league, not that but I mean as an ambassador.
Well, it was going to be Zion, and then he had an amazing rookie year. Zion shriveled, right? Injury, whatever, potato chips, whatever the reason. But dude, beignets, but absolutely terrible. And I think there's nobody else sitting there twiddling their thumbs like, I told you, more than Shannon Sharp right now.
I hate that. Shannon, I'm not the biggest Shannon Sharp fan.
I'm not either, but his point's been proven.
Maybe, but can we?
We can.
Point, maybe, but what about all the other terrible ones?
No, that's fair. That's fair. I saw something interesting about Ja. That's like, I think it was Stephen A. Smith that said this. And he's like, go the Carmelo route. Carmelo Anthony had his troubles when he came into the league because he was surrounded by the wrong guys. Talk to him. What did Carmelo do? He surrounded himself with business associates, people that were going to support him, not leech from him and put him in bad situations. So that's what I would like to see Ja do, similar to the comeback of Michael Vick. It was a similar situation. Michael Vick was just surrounded by people that didn't want his best interest. They wanted the best interest from themselves, from what he has achieved. And I'm just hopeful that Ja isn't in that same situation.
Vick also spent like 2 years in jail, though, so it is,
No, but the situation as the why behind why he spent 2 years in jail was because he was surrounded by individuals that were not. They had nothing that even paled in comparison to what he had to lose. Right? Everything that they had to lose was because of him.
Yeah, it's just wild to me because the Grizzlies were such a well-liked team, and so was Ja. And it's just amazing how quickly that can change. That rarely ever changes that quickly unless it's a team that wins too much too quick. Because then it's like I think you're starting to see it with the Chiefs a little bit now, where it's like, all right, I don't want it was cool when it was the first one and you guys keep going to the championship, but now I want some new blood. I don't know. We'll see how it all shakes out.
But who's our golfer? Who's our golfer?
So
you want Max?
I
love Max.
I bet on Jason Day. Well, I only said home. No. But as a top 10.
Okay.
I'm not even saying to win. I'm just saying who's our guy. Who are we rooting for 4 days?
Well, I want to pick it. If that's the case, I want a guy to win. I want a guy to win the whole fucking thing.
Okay. So you want to just do straight up? Okay.
Not that we're not putting money necessarily on this. I've already put half a unit on Spieth to win just because of the underdog thing, and it would just be fun to watch a guy defeat a course that has owned him for the last 4 years. but I'm open to having another guy be that guy. Is what I'm saying.
You had mentioned Thomas earlier.
JT, love JT.
I like JT. The problem is if we are going to arraign a guy, I have to put something on it, because if it wins and I don't have a little action on it, I'll hate myself.
We will protect this house, dude. Go with the Under Armour guy. Let's go.
So who are we going with?
The Spieth man. He's a Michigan man, though. That's the thing.
Plus 3,300. I don't care.
You're gonna have plus 33 to win
outright.
Is that what you're getting?
That's what the implied is currently.
I got plus 4. That line's moving, baby. That line's moving. Plus 4,000 is what I got.
I'll get down on it. So that's what we'll rock with this week. We're gonna put just a very, very small piece of action on Spieth to win, and we got a Rally Towel Sports champion of the week.
A guy of the week. We got this. But I'll be live tweeting first round of the players tomorrow morning. I think they're teeing off somewhere around 8:05 or something like that. So action early and often.
I do love there is something about the golf where it's, hey, it kind of bleeds into work. It's something, kind of keep in on. Thursday, Friday's great. And then Sunday, the final 9. You know what, though? The PGA has to do a much better. I know they have games on ESPN Plus and Peacock and stuff like that. No, none of that crap. I want it on actual television.
Yeah,
you will get people to watch this. I promise.
Yes, absolutely. I don't want to have to flip over from ESPN Plus at 2 or 3 o'clock when you decide to start broadcasting the last 10 holes of the lead round. Like, because by the time you're watching the marquee group, they've already completed the front 9. You're
right.
You're bastardizing around right now. and like, I want to see the entire climb. I want to see those guys and they do it on, it's not just Sunday. They do it on Saturday too. I want to see these guys climb out from the bottom of the, I want to see them climb out from the 20th spot, climbing into the top 5. I want to see that on Saturday, especially. Saturday is the most exciting day in any tournament, in my opinion, just because there's so much movement up and down that leaderboard.
Yeah, the Masters does a really good job with that, where they just let you do it on their website, where they have it's great. They're like, here's the turn, here's these holes, here's the featured groups, pick your poison. So we'll have a lot of Masters coverage coming out when we're getting to there, but TPC Players Championship coming up here at Sawgrass. I'm super excited.
Let's go.
Corey, we got anything else for tonight?
That's it, baby. I'm good.
I'm good too. We're going to follow these along. Make sure you're following us on the socials as we keep our picks going throughout the week. Let's go Michael Porter Jr. Let's go all these guys that we had mentioned tonight. For Corey over there, I'm Aaron over here. We are the Generous Degenerates. As always, just remember, play smart, play safe, play fun. We love you guys.
Peace.